Well, there we go.
There we go.
All right. We're going to try this again.
Take two.
What's going on, everybody? The Metal Dad here, and I'm here with Michael Lee, a.k.a. Louis Cypher, and we're going to swallow the red pill on pre-night election night on the adventures of Metal Dad. Michael Lee, Louis Cypher, I know you have some big news for everybody, so why don't you kick us off, and let's take two of this because we forgot to hit record the first time.
All right, shameless plug number two.
I love it.
Brand new track dropped today. #Antifa. My opinion of these modern anti-fascists and the so-called activism that they put out, as someone who's been an anti-fascist and has been in their shoes. Just listen to the track; it makes sense. But no, so we were just talking during the first recording about where we are in the world and how we got here. And it's a logical conclusion to an illogical world. So we've hit this point because we allowed ourselves to basically sterilize society. And the more we tell people, you're this, you're that, it's proven. There's a scientific study, it's the blue eyes, brown eyes study, that if you tell people that brown-eyed people are stupid, eventually people who don't have brown eyes will believe it. And I think that's where we're at. And I mean, a lot of people are kind of up in arms about my opinions lately on the whole issue, which is fine. I don't care. Crucify me. I don't do this to be popular. But I think that the logical conclusion to this election, no matter how you slice it, is you're looking at a situation where Donald Trump almost has to win this election for America to survive. Which sounds really bizarre.
Especially coming from you.
Coming from me, who is avidly against Donald Trump. Like, I think Donald Trump is the biggest piece of shit on the planet. But I believe he is the only way America survives this. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the people that support Donald Trump, these are not the most rational thinking people I've ever seen. Sure, there are some great thinkers and people that I've come over time through listening to their music or reading articles that they've written or following them on YouTube and listening to what they have to say and watching it, that I've come to respect a great deal, that are Donald Trump supporters. And I don't view them as racist because they support Donald Trump, because I don't believe all of anything are anything. Like, you know, you can't say all people that do this are this, or all people. You can't, because it's not true, because individuality has to factor into it. But for the most part, you know, you've got the tiki torch marching white supremacists. You've got guys like D.A.W.G that are out there supporting this guy. These aren't people that are going to go quietly into that good night.
D.A.W.G was a Democrat, though, from what I understood.
D.A.W.G was from an organization that was founded by Democrats. D.A.W.G in the last election firmly threw his support behind Donald Trump.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm. He filmed several videos about it.
Not surprised, really.
Richard Spencer, D.A.W.G, you know, all my favorite fascists. The reality is that at some point, the inevitable conclusion of this election is violence. It's an inevitable conclusion. There's already violence. I mean, cities are already burning, for fuck's sakes. If he wins, you've got 1,000,001 keyboard warriors that are going to pound away on their keyboards and complain that Donald Trump won.
Again.
If he loses, you've got 1,000,000 gun-toting psychos that are wanting to pull triggers. You see, the difference here is one, you've got social outcry, the other one, you have civil war. And I don't see how that is avoidable at this time. I mean, the comment that he made during the first debate that everybody went, oh my God.
What comment was that?
You know, he told the Proud Boys to stand down but stand by. Which, okay, before we go any further, let me extrapolate on the Proud Boys. This is the same group of people, well, maybe not the same group of people, but the same organization that told me if I played Punch and they were going to kick my ass and kill me. I've played Hamilton 9 times since, and I've opened and closed the set with Punch and Nazi every single time. I'm still here. I'm still alive. So, to tell you how afraid I am of the Proud Boys. That being said, they're not rational thinking people. Their leader literally promotes choking people out, promotes racial violence, promotes civil war.
Well, their leader is a frat boy.
Right, but if you watch his speeches, he advocates nothing more or less than absolute violence. Now, am I saying that all people that support Donald Trump are like that? No, but these are the people that are going to be making the reaction to the results of this election. It's not the average American Republican I'm talking to. And that's what people need to realize. We're dealing with extremes. We're not dealing with these small time things. Now, in addition to that, I mean, I've had some weird, rather interesting things happen lately around music where people have started calling me a racist because I listen to guys like Tom McDonald and Adam Calhoun and Mises, and I'm sexist because I listen to Mad Child. I'm sexist because I listen to Insane Clown Posse. You know, it's flawed logic. It's this crazy. If you don't agree with me, you're a racist, a sexist, whatever. So you're not dealing with logic on the other side either. So do I believe that Donald Trump will garner the votes to win? I didn't believe it 4 years ago. It was the first time I was ever wrong in a U.S. election. So this year I'm not going to bet against him for a guy that can't even run 2 terms because there's no way Joe Biden holds it together for 8 years. There's no way. He'd be 85 years old at that point.
I don't understand why he's even running now. Like, that is beyond me. Like, the only explanation for that is they're going to use him, and like Pelosi said, they're going to try and add the 25th Amendment to where they could just relieve him of his power, and then the vice president takes over.
I don't think so.
Well,
I think that people are putting too much thought in it because the simple fact of the matter is the only reason he's even running right now is because Bernie Sanders pulled out of the primary. I mean, Bernie Sanders pulled out of the primary when COVID started because the people of his state needed him more than he needed the personal gain of being president of the United States. That's the kind of guy I want as a president, you know?
But the thing is, with Bernie Sanders, you run the risk of him turning the country into what Venezuela was,
Well,
or is
you
now, or Cuba
right,
is now.
but you also run the risk right now with the current layout in the Supreme Court. The current layout in the Supreme Court, if the Senate and House don't change, you run the risk of a completely dictatorship society. No matter what you do with any political movement, you're going to run a risk. See, going back to that first debate, I want to start like let me also say that on both sides, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever independent candidates are running, this has been the worst managed election I've ever seen.
This is like the
Like
weirdest point in history from the way I look at it.
every one of these campaign managers should be fired and never allowed to work again. It's such a terribly run campaign.
Well,
Nobody is running a good campaign.
I'm gonna go as far as say is the whole government
Shit.
should be fired. All governments around the
Well,
world
but I believe all
at
government.
time should be fired because none of them are doing their job properly, and they're only forcing us into poverty.
Well, that's by design, man.
Well,
That's by design. It's always been by design. We live in a world where they want to keep you divided. It's sad because these well-meaning people, and I mean good people, not pieces of shit that want to abuse people and all that shit. I'm talking about good people, well-meaning good people that think everybody's an equal, that everybody's a trying to think of the word here, that everybody's a person, you know, everybody's got an individual right to be an individual, have your opinions, whatever. Those people aren't being heard. And there's a lot of these well-meaning people that are buying in and going, oh my God, the whole world is racist. The whole world is sexist. I've said it before on your show. I'll say it again. All of us have to face personal racism. There is a point where every person makes judgment based on factors that are out of the control of those person, whether it's racism, sexism, ageism. Every person does it. The question becomes, has it become so normalized? But, or also, you know, you hear people saying the system's broken, the system's broken. The system's not fucking broken. The system's working exactly as it was intended to work.
facts.
And when you cannot change anything, there will never be change. Because in order to change the system, you have to start at the beginning of the system and you have to eliminate the constitutions and rewrite them. In Canada, that's possible. We have caveats in our constitution that would allow for that. In America, the process to change the constitution is so convoluted that it'd be easier to wipe it out and start over. But if you wipe it out and start over, it's going to be partisan.
Do you know why it's designed like that, though? And I just had the thought as to why it was designed like that.
Because the system's designed like that.
Because absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Um, there's no question about it. Anybody.
The reason the Constitution was written the way it was to give the people the ability to say no to the government, and the government can't do anything to stop the people.
Right.
Right?
But
the people could
you
fire
look at
the government and then put new people in the same positions and start over.
I'm a very anybody that follows me on any platform around the world knows I am very, very avid that people should wear a fucking mask. But when you look at it right now, you've got a system in place where science can be absolutely disregarded in favor of this mystical piece of paper that isn't actually worth anything but what we put in it. And dollars and cents is what it's all about. And to all the people around the world that are going, oh my God, if Donald Trump wins, you know, America's going to fall. It's not just going to be America if that's the case. If the economy of America falls, remember, many years ago, they changed the world economy measurement from the gold standard to the US dollar.
Yeah.
If the US dollar crashes, so does the world economy.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of the powers outside of the United States are banking on.
Well, exactly. Why do you think in the middle of the COVID pandemic, Russia released their entire oil reserve to the free market?
And China, they're trying to change it all over to China, right?
Well, of course they are, because everybody wants their country to be the standard, right?
And what better than the country to follow than the country that can lock down 1.4 billion people and make them all think that the government is just out there to help them?
Remember that at the end of the day in politics, there's no such thing as a fucking participation trophy.
No.
And every country elects their leaders for the purpose of doing what's best for the country. But what they don't do is put a system in place to hold those leaders accountable, but once every so many years.
Well, I'm going to interject a little bit there because not every country elects their leaders.
Well, no,
Xi
but
Jinping was not elected. The princes and the Saudi princes were not elected.
no, but in many cases, though, they're people.
In all of the Western countries and all of those countries, their leaders are elected.
Well,
And
we also live in this weird world where North America believes our way is the only way.
Some people believe that, yeah.
So, well, no, it's a general thing because you see it on every news media thing when a country has a practice that disagrees with our statements on how society should be. They're evil, they're wrong, but culturally, these people that are running around worried about whether a kid is wearing an afro or a fucking headdress or a poncho on Halloween are the same people that have absolutely obliterated entire cultures by saying, we don't agree with what your culture believes in, so fuck you, we're going to stomp it out.
Kind of like what the Islamic extremists are doing in France right now, where they cut that teacher's head off.
But
you hear about that?
That's, again, you're dealing with an extremist, right? Extremists are wrong. But it's the same thing that I hear when I hear someone, quote, say the words, oh, we're moving towards Sharia law. Okay, that's great. What does that mean? Tell me what you mean by that. It's become the catchphrase and the buzzword of fearmongers.
Well,
we need to stop being afraid of it.
Well, that's coming from the Sharia law thing is with the masks. That's what they do in Sharia law, under Sharia law to silence people, and especially women. That's how they silence women in the Middle East under Sharia law.
There's a massive difference. There's a massive difference between the religious requirements under Sharia law and wearing a mask to protect from a virus.
Well, hold on. Here's the correlation. Here's the correlation in my mind. Someone who also believes in protecting people by whatever means necessary, and also knowing the spiritual implication of what's going on. because they can sell you that a mask is going to protect you in order to keep you um, uh, free from a virus, while they're trying to also implement something somewhat of a religious control system, like they kind of sneak into place all over the world. This is how they do it. They trick you, and they kind of mess with you over on one hand, and then they
Right.
sneak in the back door what they're actually trying to do to you. And the beginning stages of that is to silence people. Now, masks, if you want to, masks are masks. But I'll tell you right now, the masks that you want to be wearing in order to stop a virus from getting into your system are the gas masks that they introduce or that they issue you in the army. If you're not wearing one
Well,
of those, you're
it's
not getting the protection that you need, no matter which way.
well, people quote those things to me all the time. And now, keep in mind, I spend probably about 30 hours a week arguing masks with people. I've done a lot of research into this. No one is saying that any mask today is going to 100% protect you from COVID-19.
Yeah,
Nobody.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, when COVID-19 first became an international issue, there was a document put out by WHO, I believe it was, that had all the different types of masks that you could wear and the percentage of effectiveness that those masks could prevent the spread of sputum with. From pulling your shirt up over your mouth and nose, all the way to an N95 mask specifically designed to stop sputum for the spread of viruses. Okay, and then gas masks are another level altogether. Even an N95 mask, which is considered the gold standard of prevention against COVID-19, is only 99.9% positive. Whereas a gas mask, like you said, a military gas mask designed to filter out something like Agent Orange, would be 100% positive to prevent sputum because it's a sealed enclosed system, right?
The other thing that it does too is it allows you to actually expel the CO2.
Right. So here is
So that you're not constantly breathing in your own CO2 and then making your respiratory system even weaker and more susceptible to the virus.
so here are a couple of points, and there are people over time that I've argued with about masks. Now, keep in mind, and this may disgust you some or shock you, maybe not. I am told on a daily basis by at least 1 to 5 people that as an immune compromised person who has been told by several doctors that if I was to catch this, I would have a very high probability of dying. I have been told, then why don't you just die and stop inconveniencing everybody else?
Okay, who told you that?
I could give you a list, man. There are a number of people that have said it.
That is.
I see it all the time. I see that. I see, well, this is just the world's way of culling humanity.
You are talking to some really negative and shitty people.
Now,
that is fucking.
Yeah.
That's fucking
fucked, man. Here's what I have to say to anybody that wants to deny wearing a mask. It's really simple. Even if masks are bullshit, even if you don't believe what the doctors say about masks, if there is a 0.0001% chance that those doctors were right and you could have saved a life by putting on that mask, why the fuck aren't you doing it?
Because I have asthma, and it does me more harm than good.
Right, but there are cases. There are cases. I mean, I'm a firm believer that, see, I've got probably 7 or 8 different types of masks that I wear when I go out, depending on my mood. Everything from the cheap paper ones, if I don't want something heavy on my face, to this beautiful almost scarf life mask that has offensive sayings written on it that I pull up over my mouth and nose.
Yeah.
But the simple fact is, how little do we care about our fellow man or woman, goes either way, that putting a piece of material over our face for the 5 minutes that we run into a store to buy a pack of smokes is such a huge deal that we feel that we have to take to the internet and argue it. And the other day I called someone a bigot for it. They said, "You're being bigoted." And they said, "No, I'm not." Literally, when you say you're not wearing a mask, you are saying you're immune compromised and I don't care because my freedoms are more important than you. Immune compromised and elderly, those are the people at risk. That is a specific group of people. The definition of bigotry is having intolerant or unreasonable views of a specific group of people. Telling people they should die so you're no longer inconvenienced sounds to me intolerant and unreasonable. So if you want to run around and be an anti-masker, which I interchange with the word anti-vaxxer, because it's the same thing, you're risking spreading a deadly virus to someone. Now, there are people, okay, let's address the common cold and the flu. I'll address that, and here's my anti-mask statement on that. You're 100% correct. You know, in an extreme flu could kill me. An extreme cold could kill me. So wear a mask so I don't catch your fucking flu or your cold too.
So now we're just back to masking up everywhere all the time. And
That's unfortunately.
It's too, but I want to throw something else at you. If you
Go for
protect yourself to the point where you're sterile,
Mm-hmm.
basically, and you're not exposed to any viruses.
Yep, your immune system's going to become weak and die.
Yeah. So.
And I don't disagree, but we're not saying that. That's not what everybody's saying.
No, but we've been here. I just want to throw this out there. We've been on. How long do you figure humans have been on this planet? What is it? What is your belief for how long we've been here?
I don't really hold one. I don't think about it. Don't really care.
Oh, yeah, that's an honest answer.
I'll be really honest with you. I don't care if we crawled out of the ocean as a pusillanimous little fish, or we came from Adam and Eve in some great garden with a big gold thing. It don't matter where we are right now.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Let's say that we know we've been around for at least, I don't know, 3,000 years or
Sounds
6,
good.
right? Because we have written history that lasts that long.
Okay, we'll go back. We'll go back to where we wrote it down.
We have buildings that we couldn't have possibly built hanging around, and we have no idea what that story is.
Right.
Right. So
correct.
We've been here for 6,000 years, walking around with all of the different deadly little poisons and viruses and cures and everything that can kill us for the last 6,000 years. And it wasn't until the last 100 years that we've decided that when we were sick to start wearing masks.
Right.
All right. And we're at the highest population and the best health conditions that we have ever been at in our recent or even written history.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Now, I'm not anti-mask and I'm not anti-vaccine, but what I am is skeptical about, first of all, man-made things that we don't know what the ingredients are.
Correct.
I was completely all vaccine until I found out that there were ingredients in there that shouldn't be in there, and we're not allowed to sue them for when they stick us with things, but we have to take their magic serum.
Well,
that's the problem with vaccines. It's not that I'm against vaccines. I love the idea of vaccines, and up until I learned that maybe they're not as good as maybe they're not as pure as we thought they were, and they could use some tweaking and made better. Up until that point, I was completely all about vaccines because it's a smart idea.
Well, at the end of the day,
but when you find out you don't have a choice what they're putting into your body, and you're not allowed to call them on it, that's a different story.
That's not true. You can call them on it because you can always fill out a conscientious objector form.
Yeah.
And The only difference is that if you're a conscientious objector to a vaccine, it is registered because of the potential health risks if, let's say, measles, mumps, or rubella ever got into a school. Sorry, I'm tidying up the studio a bit while we're talking. But
You do whatever you got to do.
here, to address what you're saying,
This is
so
awesome.
you got millions of people.
Just doing this.
You got millions of people that have been around for, let's say, 10,000 years, whatever. There is shit on this planet that we don't even know about yet. There are areas of this planet that we haven't explored yet.
There's parts of the Congo that we don't even know about.
So there are viruses and diseases and all sorts of shit out there we don't know about. What we do know is that over time, our bodies have developed and adapted to these viruses and to things like years ago, people would die from the common cold. They don't anymore. There's no vaccine for the common cold. There's no cure for the common cold. All there is medications that can mask the symptoms of the common cold. But we don't die from it as much anymore. Why is that? Because our bodies have adapted. It's been in our system this long. Things like COVID-19 are brand new. This is something new to us. We don't know if it's new to the planet. It could have been around on the planet for years and years and years. For all we know, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theory about it being created in a lab in China to do this or that. And if it was, well, damn, someone hire that guy. He can probably cure cancer.
Here's the thing: is there may or may not be cures for cancer already.
Well, the thing is there's never going to be a cure for cancer. If you really want to be technical about it, cancer exists in all of us all the time. It's actually part of our body and our ecosystem that is our internals. When it gets out of control, that's when it starts killing people. Cancer sucks, but it's also a multi-hundred billion dollar a year industry. Again, I'm a huge Tom McDonald fan, so I'm going to shout out and say, go listen to his song Cancer. There's a lot of statistics in that song and a lot of facts in that song that are kind of scary when you think about them. But
too, isn't it?
If you take the concept of COVID-19 is new or potentially new, our bodies haven't had a chance to adapt to it yet. Is masks the answer? Is this the answer? Is that the? I don't know, and I don't know because we won't let science do our job because we're all too busy being worried about where it came from and forgetting the fact that regardless of where it came from, it's already fucking here. It's already here. Donald Trump caught COVID-19. Donald Trump says he's cured. Donald Trump says he has tremendous doctors. I don't know the reality of that, but what I do know is that he is the president of the United States of America and a billionaire. He can afford health care we can't comprehend. So maybe there is something that he did. Maybe there is some drug he took that helped him get over it in 3 days. Is that drug available to everybody else? Is that drug expensive? What about that drug? All I know is this. COVID-19 came along and Big Pharmacy doesn't have a pill they can sell us to cure it.
Can I interject with something for a second?
Yep.
Through some of the people that I've been listening to, and I can't remember any of their names, or a couple doctors and things that I've been listening to, mainly on the Joe Rogan podcast and some other places too. Brett and Eric Weinstein I've been listening to on subjects like this. But one thing that, his name is Dr. Rhonda something. I'll get back and I'll write it down into the comments or whatever. Vitamin D and zinc are what is recommended the most. Something that people should already have running through their body in the first place is any foods that are high in zinc and then get as much sunlight. And if you have to supplement yourself with about 5,000 EUs or AU,
Hmm.
whatever it is, of vitamin D,
Yeah.
and that type of a regimen. And there's one more thing too, I believe.
I
All the stuff is readily available right over wherever you need it.
I'll be blunt. My theory on it is pot's the best cure for COVID ever. Stay high, you won't want to go out, and you won't get sick. Um, but and I say that in jest. But
On that,
there is actually studies that show that certain strains of pot will limit the spread of COVID-19 within your own body. That being said, again, we don't know. We need to let science do their job. We need to minimize. We're spending so much time trying to minimize and flatten the curve rather than just saying, okay, I'll social distance, I'll put on a mask. Fuck, tell me what I got to do so that at the end of this, I can go back to living my life. This is the new normal. This is the new normal.
is it though?
For right now, it is. And it's unfortunately,
You got to be
everybody could say,
careful. The only reason I'm asking you, Mike, is you got to be careful when you say things like that, because you're putting some strange karma into the universe when you say things like this are normal. Because
yeah,
it's
I mean,
not normal for humans to be socially distanced. It's not normal for humans to not have contact with each other. It's just not.
okay, but that's a very broad statement because I quite enjoy being socially distant.
Well, there are people that are. You know,
Um,
I enjoy my solitude as well. Like, I'm not saying that I hate
but
that I like humans. I don't.
I hate them. I freely admit it.
You're a human that I like.
Well, that's a mistake, but whatever. Um,
I love all humans, to be honest with you.
I personally think that as of right now, at this moment in time, I do not see a point in our lifetime that this is not the normal. I think that all governments, not just Donald Trump, the Canadian government, the European governments, the Chinese government, to fuck the Chinese government even admitted they handled it wrong. And for China to admit they did something wrong, think about that for a fucking minute. Um,
I'm gonna have to check that one out because I don't think I've ever heard that.
they actually made a statement, I think it was about 3 months ago, where they said, as of this point, because of the initial handling of the COVID-19 virus here in China, we will never be COVID free.
I'll have to double check that one.
Yep. That's their theory.
Because
And
I've heard that right now that they have 0 cases, and they're saying that they are COVID free because they have no cases.
there's it's not even statistically possible.
Oh, I agree.
Um,
It's statistically possible for them to be COVID free, considering that's the country where COVID came from. The only way that they could be COVID free when they are the original country of COVID is if it was made in a lab and they had the antidote made before
absolutely.
they released the virus. That is the only way.
And if that's the case, or if it's the case, I look at it this way: once science has had the time to do the job, create whatever miracle pill they're going to get to prevent a virus or to protect us from it, then I don't really care about where it came from. It's here.
Well,
Once we've dealt with that, then we do the investigation. You don't investigate a murder while it's being committed. You investigate it after it's done, right? Why are we wasting time investigating shit that's irrelevant when people are dying? And I want to address one thing about the COVID thing, um, real quick, is that I hear a lot about death certificates and how the death certificates filled out, and people saying, "Hey, COVID-19, they didn't die from COVID-19. They died from heart failure. They died from lung." Yes, we know. We've been saying that from day one. To clarify, I have 3 separate medical conditions, all of which are on the list of immunocompromised conditions. any one of which would be listed as the cause of death in a case where I was to die from COVID-19. COVID-19 is the exacerbating factor to what the immunocompromised person has. So no, the death certificate will not show COVID-19 is the primary cause of death, because it isn't. The primary cause of death is heart failure. The primary cause of death is respiratory failure. COVID-19 is something that will show up on a toxicology report or whatever it is, a viral report. So the death certificate thing, that's a smokescreen. It's things people are saying. There was a great video that I watched from a survivor of COVID-19, a guy named, well, again, Adam Calhoun, who I'll shout out to him and his people because they're fucking amazing. But I watched a video where he was talking about his experience with coronavirus. Now, this is a guy that works out constantly, runs 5-6 miles a day, a healthy guy. And he was talking about how much COVID-19 kicked the shit out of him. It's not just death here. There are long-term health effects from having this virus.
Well, first of all, we can't say that because as far as we know, it's only been around not even for a year. We can't say that there's any long-term health effects because we haven't had a long enough time to study that.
Someone who can't get enough air in their lungs for 9 months, in my opinion, would be considered a long-term health effect.
But also, more than not, most people are unaffected by it. There's more asymptomatic and more people that aren't affected by it than there are people that are affected by it.
Absolutely. And that's, again, something we've been saying from day one.
And the thing is that this virus is so widespread and it affects so many different things, so many different ways, and so many different, it's honestly the perfect blanket virus.
It really is.
It's like somebody went like this and then said, we're going to have a coverall that freaks everybody out because it doesn't matter what you do, you can catch it or you can be not affected by it. It doesn't matter. You still have to be afraid of it. It's like the greatest catch-22 ever created.
The problem is that you're dealing with a case where you're telling people who we have told for years and years and years that they are the me first culture. You know, we've been saying this for years. You know, take care of yourself, look out for number one. You know?
Yeah.
And now we're telling them we need you to take care of your fellow person by wearing a mask, by sanitizing your hands, and all of these things. The fact that I have to tell fucking adults to wash their hands is ridiculous.
It is pretty it is pretty outstanding and ridiculous that you would have to tell an adult to wash his hands.
But we do.
Hands or its hands or their hands, whatever you want to say.
And here's the other thing about it. And I saw this one the other day and it blew my mind. It's a little bit of a mind bender here. We have all of these things that we fight against where we're telling people what to do with their own bodies, okay? And I don't want to get into a debate on this one, but you've got issues like abortion. You've got issues, you know, drug use, things like that. Oh, don't put this in your body, don't put that in your body. We have this whole culture built around consent. I do not give anyone consent to breathe on me and infect me with COVID-19.
That's fair.
So anyone that sits there and says, oh, but it's my freedom, I don't have to wear a mask, but I have a freedom to remain virus-free too. And because, like you said, this is a catch-all virus, you can have it and never know you have it. You could have it for a year and not know you had it. We know that. Asymptomatic people are everywhere, but that's where the problem comes in. You cannot know you have this and suddenly kill someone. But now, is that even a valid argument? Is that even a valid argument anymore? Because...
But here's the question I'm going to pose to you. Here's the question I want to pose. Is it you killing that person, or is it that person's lifestyle choices that led them to the point where their body couldn't fight a virus off? So whose fault is it really?
I was born with a heart defect that if I was to, regardless of anything, I was born with it. They told me it wouldn't kill me, but a serious viral infection could. That's not a lifestyle choice.
No,
That's how I was born.
yeah.
So that's not a lifestyle choice. So it doesn't apply. The problem is that for someone to say now, I saw an article the other day where a kid found out he was asymptomatic and he had gone to one of these house parties in Toronto with no mask on and affected a bunch of people. If someone died, the argument is, well, I didn't know I was sick,
Well,
but you knew you possibly could be. I didn't know I was sick sounds to me like I didn't know I was too drunk to drive.
see, that's an argument to me that masks don't work, not that the kid is a murderer because he didn't wear a mask. That is a perfect argument for the fact that masks don't work.
How? He didn't wear
Everybody else
one.
was wearing a mask and he wasn't.
No, but hold on though. Hold on though. Nobody is saying wear a mask to protect yourself. That's not what we're saying.
No.
Wear a mask to protect everyone else from your sputum. It's not about the incoming sputum, it's about the outgoing sputum.
But the virus is also airborne, so you're breathing it out constantly anyway.
But the mask gives you a certain level of protection, whether it's from 5% that a bandana has to, like we said, 100% of a closed system.
Well, what would you say if I told you that I came across a study that said that when they thought masks were helping during the Spanish flu, it was actually creating more of a better spot for the bacteria to harness, like work itself into your lungs and cause the infection itself?
What if I told you I came across a study that showed that people that have abnormally large breasts are more likely to end up in juvenile hall? I can come up with a study that says anything.
Yeah, but that study has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, but my point is that it does, because I've seen studies that show right now, going around right now, there are studies out there that say, oh, 50% of people of all COVID deaths are not related to COVID because COVID's not the primary thing. Here's the study. Yep, we've been saying that from day one. I can't speak to it again. My request to people isn't buy the mask thing hook, line, and sinker. Believe what you want to believe. Have an opinion. I don't give a fuck. I don't have to respect your opinion. I just have to acknowledge the fact that you have a right to have one.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, right now, what we know, what we are being told by the medical professionals, the people that literally spend their lives because they're fucking fucked in the head and want to study viruses, those people are saying to us, wear a mask, it'll reduce the spread of COVID-19. Nobody's saying it'll eliminate it. Nobody's saying it's 100% positive. It will reduce the spread of COVID-19. Just until science can get the job done. Put on the mask until someone tells us otherwise. Because we don't know right now. And the biggest problem with any situation right now is you're dealing with a culture where they say knowledge is power. I'm going to say Facebook disproved that. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is a dangerous thing because too much knowledge at your fingertips, which is what the internet provides, has led to a more divided culture, a more divided world than we've ever had. There are people that are dying. There are people that are...
To be honest with you, I think that the internet has made it so that we can be more together than we ever have been before. but we're going through a little bit of a growing period where it seems like we're more divided than ever because that's the narrative that's being spun to us.
It's what we're seeing.
We're only seeing it in little spots.
Well,
Not even
because
and we're seeing it in the places where they're trying to reject
okay, when you take
already there.
well, I mean, the simple fact is this. What we're seeing is we're seeing the very small groups of people that represent the extremes. We're not seeing all of society. We're seeing the group of people that represent extremes. We're seeing massive differences in age, based on age, in opinions. Here's one for you that I'm going to throw out there, and I'm just going to kind of toss it out there and let it set, ruminate for the world. I hear a lot about ageism, and I hear a lot of people go, "Oh, don't say bad things about millennials. Millennials not a bad word." Well, neither's fucking boomers. Shut the hell up.
Facts.
Like, if you're going to bring age into it, then I will bring age right back at you. As an older person that just started writing hip hop music, I hear a lot of hip hop disses. I listen to them on a regular basis where they talk about the age of people. Irrelevant. Who gives a shit? I mean, I don't care. I don't care. Gordie Howe played in 6 fucking consecutive decades of hockey. Age means nothing.
Facts.
It's a number. But no, it just pisses me off. I'm tired of the hypocrisy of it, and like, whether it's COVID-19 and masks, whether it's these racist debates, whether it's all this shit, nobody's listening to each other, and it's fucking ridiculous. As far as going back to our original, why we were talking about all this, the downside to the fact that if America's to survive, I believe that Donald Trump has to win this election. The downside is, if that happens, there will be hundreds of thousands more dead. It will happen.
How do you figure that, though?
There's already 200,000 dead from COVID, and they're literally dying at a rate of almost 1,000 people a day in the U.S. right now.
That's not the numbers that I've heard.
They're right there, man. They're right there on the WHO website, on the World Health Organization. They're on there on the U.S.
Well, I'll tell you right now. I know that the World Health Organization has been lying a little bit, so I don't really
if you go across
that the Chinese government has their fingers on. Sorry.
But we've got 200,000 people confirmed dead in the U.S. right
now. And
minimum
6% of that number was actual COVID death. I know for a fact.
Which?
Just listen to this. I know for a fact, and here, I listened to everything you said about the COVID-related death and everything like that, and dying with COVID. But I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that here in Fredericton, there was somebody that died from a motorcycle accident and was listed as a COVID death.
That's ridiculous. That's a shitty doctor, and that's going to happen. You're going to have that happen. But if you're going to say that's the norm,
keeping that in mind, how can I believe, knowing that they're fudging the numbers like that? How can I believe anything that they're saying?
But
why would I be afraid of it? Why would I be afraid of it if I know that there's even a little bit of a lie? Even a little bit of a lie. Why would I believe anything else that they have to say? It's like listening to Justin Trudeau right now. We know he's lying about the we charity thing.
But on the other hand, I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. If there's even a shred, a 0.0000001% chance that what they're saying is true, to follow the protocols, to do the things that you're supposed to do, I don't care if you believe it or not. I don't give a fuck if you believe it. I don't give a shit. As long as I get to keep breathing and make music to piss people off, I don't care. But I think that if there's a shred of a possibility that we can save a human life, then we need to do that. Conversely, though, I will say this. I think that on all sides of any argument, at any point in time, People are going to bullshit. People are going to, there's going to be doctors out there. There's going to be disreputable people that are going to fudge numbers. Let's not get into statistical analysis because I got some opinions of that, but I don't want to give away shit that's coming out on my spoken word album.
Okay, so we won't do that.
Because I go heavily into it on that.
What? You can't deny me that, Mike. How do you do it?
I can, because now you got to buy the album.
Ah!
I hate capitalism, but I'm good at it.
Fuck. All right, fine. We won't get into
I
it.
think well, no, it's really simple. You can twist any statistic to mean anything. You really can. There are statistics that are being thrown around right now regarding deaths in police custody that are horribly skewed because they're based on per capita numbers. But if you base that on actual population, those numbers are completely different. If you base it on population centers and densities and things, those numbers change again. Statistics don't lie, but the people compiling them do, if that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense.
The simple fact is, we've spent so many times in our lives, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to hop off here shortly. I didn't realize how late it was, and I'm exhausted.
Hey, no problem. I'm just glad that we got on as long as we did.
I'm glad we did too. But to give you my predictions for the U.S. election, here's what's going to happen. If Joe Biden wins, you will not see a change of president until earliest June of next year. Because that's going to be so tied up in courts. They've already said they've hired the lawyers. Both sides have already said they've got the lawyers in place to fight the election results because of X, Y, Z.
I hear one side saying that. I don't hear the other side saying it.
Oh, no, it's been documented. Both sides are doing it. They're both pieces of shit. I'm not. If Biden wins, America burns. Now, there's another thing that I haven't really talked about, but I will touch on briefly. If Joe Biden wins this and makes all of these changes that Joe Biden claims he's going to make, I say claims because anybody that thinks that you can raise corporate tax rates to 28% and keep businesses in your country is smoking serious fucking crack.
Yeah.
If he makes the changes he's going to make, there's going to be a whole lot of people on this planet that are going to have to come to terms with the harsh reality that all of their bluster and blowhard and talk about how they can't be racist and they can't do that and they can't be sexist. If all of these changes they want to ever come into play, they're going to have to look in a mirror at what's going to look back at them is going to be that racist, sexist person that they've been fighting against for years and years and years and years and years. So that is a negative mental effect to Joe Biden winning this election. That is what I'm saying. If Donald Trump wins this, you're not going to see a presidential change at all because Joe Biden's people are going to try to fight it in court. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, which is currently Republican controlled, is going to shoot it down in a day.
Well, they're going to shoot it down mainly because they've been trying to impeach him and say that he's been cheating since he won the last one, and it's been proven that he hasn't.
Right. Well, this is the problem, right? This is the problem. There was a point where someone said, will you renounce white supremacy? I'm sure we all remember it. I referenced the question earlier.
Yeah, he's done it like 1,000 times.
He said, sure, but you could probably find 25, 30 videos where he says white supremacy is illegal and is wrong and is shitty.
Well, no, he said it in the last debate that he said it. He completely denounced all of it.
I didn't even watch the last debate. After the first debate, my brain hurt so bad.
And he did it.
I didn't even watch it.
Times before the first debate.
Keep in mind, I don't normally have internet that I can use, and I don't normally have TV. So
Well,
I get all my news through Facebook and through various news sources that I read. But anyway, so kind of, yeah, like my prediction on this whole thing is no matter how you slice it, chances are you end up with a Donald Trump presidency. If you don't, nothing's going to change. The divide's too wide. It's not going to fix overnight. Joe Biden is not going to fix this.
no.
I'm shocked that this is Trump versus Biden and not Trump versus Obama part 2. Because I'm shocked they didn't run Michelle Obama, if you wanted the God's honest truth. That's who they should have run, but I'm not even going to get into that debate. Just poor politics all around. It's poor politics. It bores me because it's not even fun politics to speculate on anymore. But I got to jump off here in a minute, but I want to thank you first off for bringing me on again because I love coming on the show. It's so much fun.
I love
Because
you.
my brain gets to work, and I love that. I don't like that my brain shuts off sometimes.
Well, hey,
But
I'm glad.
shameless plug. Now, I did promise that we will do an in studio where I will do some freestyling and actually perform some music for you. Something I did promise you, and we couldn't do it this time.
Whenever you're comfortable, man. Like, I'm not gonna rush you. I know that you're immune compromised like me, so I understand completely.
I've been out to your place a couple of times since this started. I have no problem doing it again. But the for those people that are out there, just on a shameless plug note, the new single dropped tonight. There's some more singles. You've heard a couple of them, or at least one other one that are going to be dropping that were done for Malice in Wonderland that I ended up putting on a different album because I'm changing kind of the way I write a little bit. And so Malice in Wonderland, I'm sort of pushing back and putting out this other, The World's Fucked, kind of the outtakes off that album. But they'll be available on Bandcamp and soon on all your major streaming platforms. Check them out. You'll like them, do it. I also have a clothing line on Threadless. Check that out. There's some fun shirts on there. Fuck Omega Skiing. Yeah, that's about it, man. That's about it. I wouldn't mind actually. I think it's going to be kind of curious in the next couple of days to go back and after the results of the election and see what we talked about and see where we were right or wrong. You know.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and get this out as soon as possible.
Cool. Sounds great, man. Keep me posted.
This is an important one to get out on time because we only have one opportunity to do this.
Right. I've written entire political albums. Cypher's last album never even hit the shelf because it was all about the Canadian election, and by the time we got it back from mastering, the election was over. So we wrote an album that never saw the light of day, which is fine. That happens. All right, man. I got a jet though. To your listeners, like I said, I promised them I'd come and do some live music for them. That will happen because I don't break my word. So.
Well, we can't wait to have you, Mike, and thank you for gracing us with your presence tonight.
Anytime, homie.
We got to get this worked out. I know it's been an odd couple days for us, and we've got to touch base again. And
soon
in the studio, you come over and come visit Metal Dad here whenever you get a chance. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in.
Cheers.
Cheers out there, brother.
Cheers.